Hey everyone, it's episode 461 of This Is Whole Life, and we really are back to whole this week. Ken Wetmore to my right, as always, and where he should be. Safe, jet-lagged.
Seriously jet-lagged.
But safe and sound. I mean, jet lag is like it's a mental and physical, it'll pass.
We certainly hope so. I can't even get my words out today. So
this is going to be this will be fun then. This will be fun, because we don't edit around here. We just take things as it comes, as quick and as fast as possible. Well, we're not really whole because to my left, Dr. Lucas is he's Dr. Traffic this morning. He was in South Florida somewhere with some friends from out of town and for the weekend and. He sent me a text, and
he's just staying in South Florida, isn't he?
He may be. Well, the GPS said 7:01, and there was like cars everywhere with brake lights, and his Speedo was like the thing like 0. So I think who knew that there would be that much traffic on a Monday morning at 7 a.m. So
we're gonna have to give him the benefit of the doubt because this is retreat crunch week. So.
Yeah. Well, he's got work to do, so it doesn't matter. There's only X number of hours, so he might be jet lagged by the time we get. I laugh as though I'm not going to be part of that jet lag before this all goes down. But guys, thanks for tuning in. And if you have missed signing up for Church Retreat, it's too late. But they'll be next year.
Can they come up for the day, though?
I guess they could, right?
Come up for Sabbath?
That's true. You just there's no meal tickets, though. We will just say that. Just please don't come and then show up at the cafeteria and try to buy meal tickets because.
And you'll have to wear camo and come in the back way. But other than that, sure.
That's right. That's right. Because we have guards at the front. And after Saturday morning, no, Friday night, we close it down and make sure nobody comes in or out.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not that. The security's not that tight. I promise.
No.
Come and hang out for the day, even if you haven't. Could be fun.
And then the other fun thing is that if you didn't get signed up and weren't able to make it for whatever reason, we are for the first time going to stream our church service from Church Retreat.
Well, I should say, we probably should preface that we are going to attempt.
God willing, and the internet doesn't fail. Yes.
That's right. The attempt will be there, though. And we might
only the noon service, though.
Right. Well, there is only one.
Right. I'm just saying for people who used to tuning into 9:30.
That's true. That's true.
Tune in for the noon.
Yeah. And I think that was in the pre-roll this week, too, for everyone online, was just like, hey, guys, just don't forget that next week.
Yep.
No first. And then, like we said, maybe the rest will come back into place. So I wanted to know to start, before we tell everybody what we were talking about this week. Where is it here? All right. What's your personal mission statement?
To know God and to show God to others.
All right. Melanie, do you have one?
So, Randy, I've been working on mine for a long time. It currently has a preface and an introduction, 6 chapters, and a couple of appendices. So, I'm trying to shorten it, but I'll have to get back to you when I have the concise
version.
Well,
I mean,
don't let perfection be the enemy of completion.
Maybe that should just be a perfection. There's my mission statement.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of completion.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. I don't know that. Well, I guess how many people would have one if you didn't work for Ken, or
Wow. Well, I guess I'll take that as a compliment.
No, of course, or someone.
Ken forces everybody except for Melanie, who she started to make me try to read her six chapter book, and I was like, no. I can see you've thought about it. We'll move on.
You get an A+ for effort, and everything else I'm sure is good.
I'll give her a C because completion is important.
Oh man!
Wow. Only 6 chapters.
I'm gonna have to go. I can't stay.
I feel attacked. Well, that'll teach you to not have a mission statement.
All right, Randy, what's yours?
Well, I didn't have one until
Saturday.
No. I actually have it here, and I have an email of when I sent it to my coach because I had one, and he enthusiastically encouraged me to redo it.
Yeah.
Just because it had been a while. And he's like, no, it's not bad, but you should probably be doing it. So mine is redefining the way people interact with the gospel. So
Interesting.
from different, kind of a 360 approach to how people would interact or think about the gospel or Jesus. So
Yeah. Well,
I like it.
podcast fits into that for sure.
yeah, I think so. And
It really makes sense to me, Randy. I like that.
yeah, he really liked it too, and we came up.
And yours is finished, and so that
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
What I did was, and for those of you that were a part of the message this week and you actually heard it already, Ken mentioned our work with our new
the vision team.
vision team. Correct. Oh, my steering team. I knew that wasn't right.
So there's so many.
There's too many teams,
There's
maybe.
several committees that are involved with this. There's the strategic planning committee, and then there's the vision team. Vision team reports to the strategic planning committee that reports to the church board. So there you go.
There you go. Well, see, now I just need someone to put that in line.
We have a vision team meeting tonight. That's exciting.
Do we really?
Yeah,
Wow. Cool.
it's on the calendar.
Well, I'm sure I'll be there then. Because I think I missed the last one, didn't I? Didn't I find out about it here? I'm pretty sure the last time we were supposed to be.
Why we have podcasts, so
That's why we have
Randy will know
podcasts.
what's happening.
Like, why would I have a personal mission statement? But it really does make sense if it's someplace also that you can see it on a fairly regular basis, where you can think about like goals, like where you might have your goals and where you might have this like alongside of it. Just rethinking like, what am I doing today? And I think it was super helpful. So Ken was super excited. Now, first service, it was awesome because it was they were not biting on this whole.
There were two people who raised their hands that they like mission statements, which was what kind of took me back second service when like the whole congregation raised their hands. So I don't know.
So how did the time or the time?
Maybe people are just waking up in first
Yeah.
service and they just.
We're like,
You know,
I don't want to raise my hand.
There's a lot of energy for this early.
I really felt like first, I really felt like Ken was like really all in. Like, man, I'm excited. I'm back. I've got this going. It's early. I'm ready to roll. And then second, it was almost like dipping the toe in the water a little bit to see like, man, am I going to get shut down? Like
First service is your mission statement, mission field.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Well, I think
We did have two pretty strong mission statement gurus in first service.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Nice.
I really did. I looked at them and felt a little intimidated talking about mission statements.
So did you have any feedback afterwards? Like, can't believe we talked about mission statements today, Ken? Or, hey, I'm going to make my own.
Yeah, this is such a
mission
nice
statement.
church. People are genuinely just, I think that when they have those thoughts, they just keep them to themselves, more or less. I don't know.
They were raised by a proper mother.
I don't know. Yeah, I
Right?
mean, yeah.
Can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all.
So, no, I had several people chat with me afterwards about thinking about mission statements and thinking about how that would apply to them. So, yeah.
Oh, I like it. So the part that I wasn't expecting, because I'm like, we start out with Google. That was, I think everyone under the sun knew the Google one.
A lot of people knew that one.
Asana, that was a nice. Lucas looks over at me. He's like, all right, shouting out Asana.
Throwing a bone to you two.
That's
You
right.
two,
Yeah, yeah.
To Lucas and Randy,
And,
who found Asana for our whole life staff. So
Oh, yeah.
that was the one no one knew, but no one
I don't
got
think
that
anyone
one.
guessed.
No.
I didn't know it either.
I'm not going to name any names, but I had a staff member standing next to me. They guessed like 3 or 4 different things, and I'm like, you are in so much trouble. But they got it right before you said it, so
Well, I guess we'll let them off the hook
I
then.
feel like they're off the hook now.
Was it Asana that everyone guessed as Microsoft?
Yeah,
For
that
service?
was one of
Teams, I think.
them. Teams.
They guessed Teams.
Yeah.
Microsoft
Oh.
Teams.
I didn't get as far as Teams. I just guessed Microsoft. It seemed very Microsoft-ish.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
softy-ish.
I don't know.
Works.
You can reach out to them and ask if that's how they prefer it to be said.
But I didn't see going towards the Bible for showing examples. Adam and Eve, caretakers of the earth, subdue. Abraham, be a blessing. Israelites, demonstrate my righteousness. So you're telling me that you really shouldn't really have one mission statement because failure or falling short is imminent? Is that what you're telling me? Because I'm like,
Well, you took it to a different place than I had thought about going there, Randy. But
I mean, they were in the garden.
The point of a mission statement
Okay.
is not perfection.
Oh, Melanie, crash yours off.
It is
Whatever.
the point. point of a mission statement is there is an aspirational aspect to it as well as anything else, that it is something to aspire to be headed towards, to be trying to achieve. And sometimes that means you miss the mark, and that's okay. You just get back up, dust off, and keep going.
So the examples, I mean, I really love the examples because I like the idea that, things that if we're going to frame it that way, that, caretakers of the earth and being a blessing. And I'm like, okay, I think I can be a blessing to people sometimes, and I can do my part to be a caretaker of the earth. Every time Emmy and I go out walking, she's adamant that we pick up any piece of trash, including used cigarette butts and other unmentionables, and she'll just bend down like, "Oh, you should have brought the gloves." But here we are. But I'm like, demonstrate my righteousness. Ooh. I'm like, maybe the Israelites really got shortchanged on this one, because that would be the most difficult one on a regular basis, would be to show or demonstrate or somehow convey God's righteousness. Ouch.
I don't know. I think it's that's the one that I actually like the most, Randy.
Okay.
Even I definitely agree it's a pretty tall order, but I think that there's something really cool about God giving you the opportunity to demonstrate why His way of doing things is the best way, and the benefits of doing that. It's something we might call whole life around here. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus that word, I don't know which word it is that's used there, but oftentimes righteousness and justice are translated interchangeably. So depending on what word that is, it could also mean demonstrate justice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what would you say if that was? I mean, just looking at each of these, I was just kind of thinking about, other than the fact that maybe demonstrate my righteousness could be the more, or possibly, or quite possibly, the most difficult one. Out of these three, what do you think about what we do and how we do things at Whole Life that people would pick up on those three? Like, what is it in whether it's in ministry, whether it's in message, all the above? What do you think it is about Whole Life that would cause people to know that we really are striving for the mission statement, and there's some kind of tangible proof to that?
Are you talking about our mission statement?
Yeah. Just I mean, given the fact that we're talking about this, but then with our mission statement and our mission and vision, and maybe even adding the values, because a lot of people will look at that and say, well, how do you know that you're doing your mission or your vision? And to me personally, I won't speak for you guys, but to me, that's our values. Like, if you're checking off why you're doing something, and you're checking off the values that you have that are kind of supported, to me, they're kind of the base. They support what your mission and vision are about. It seems as though that can help you decide, like, yeah, I think if we're going into this with this in mind, I think we are taking care of our mission and vision. But is there anything tangible that you see, or maybe most tangible, that's like, this is why it's Whole Life?
Well, Ken kind of mentioned this a little bit last week, but if you hear the mission statement and hear what it's attached to, if you say, oh yeah, that makes sense, then I think as long as if it resonates, then that's one way to know if your mission statement. I mean, can you imagine if there was, there are lots of mission statements that would not be Whole Life, that would be completely appropriate for another congregation, but it just wouldn't match us. So I think resonance is important.
Ooh. That makes perfect sense, just thinking about being on the team. And I don't know if you guys remember that one handout that Jim gave us from Oksana. He's the one that's been kind of leading this whole charge. And he gave us this sheet, and as we were asking ourselves what Ken mentioned in the message, does our mission statement really, is this what it should still be? Even though he mentioned you don't really change it that often, maybe it's time to take a look. And he passed a sheet out, and it was like, ooh, I like that one. 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 And they were all really good. But I think it was just because, he's giving you the best examples of like all the clients they've worked with. And you're like, man, those are really good. But then some of them, the more you stop and think about it, because we kind of I think it was 2 weeks later, we came back to that page, And I didn't like any of them nearly as much as I did the moment I saw them. Like it takes a little bit to think about what's happening and what you're doing at church and how your community is involved and reacts. And so it'll be curious, you kind of gave everybody a peek, a little peek that may or may not be a finalized version at some point. But sometimes the best ones are just the ones that fit. Not necessarily the ones that are maybe a little more memorable than others.
Right. Well, and it means something. I mean, I'm trying to remember so Jim suggested that it should be clear, concise, compelling. Was it catalytic?
Yep.
And then there was one other one.
There was one other one.
So there may be one that's clear, but it sounds trite, and it could just go. I mean, any Christian church could say, "Yep, that's ours," but the one that matches you, the one that has, something provocative in it, something that has kind of an action feel to it. Like there are different pieces of it, and the best mission statements have all of that to some degree.
Yeah. And some of the other ones I think they contained all those clearly. And for that congregation, that was, I'm sure, hit the nail on the head for them. But then the more that we worked and went through the process, the more you realize how good kind of what we had already was good, but that maybe there's that piece. I just remember sitting there thinking when he was asking us to go through this and to have this, is everybody at 80%, or can we get to 80% for what was there, like 13, 15, something like that on average of us in the room every time. And it's like, that takes a lot to get that many people to even 80%, right? But I remember when we were not all at 80% and we sat there and were thinking about, there's just something doesn't feel right. Something's missing. Something could be said better, and trying to work through that process. And it just reminded me of that it was a lot of work, and at times it was frustrating when you're trying to communicate what you aren't even sure of yourself, but the piece that's missing. I mean, like, you see it, right? And people are kind of looking back at you like, I'm not so sure that's the piece that's missing. I think we should check behind the pencil there. I think that's the big nut behind the pencil is the problem. But and then to think about where kind of moving forward, that you really want this to be something like Ken said, you don't want to change it. You want it to just fit. And I'm excited for what we finally came up with, and through all of the work and how many whiteboards of erasures and those post-it pages and
vigorous discussions to get to 80%. So
what does the gospel really mean? That was one of my favorites. But you think, well, yeah, the gospel, that's easy. But then when you really start to think about it in certain contexts for certain things like, your mission statement, it becomes a little bit like, well, I didn't think of that. Now I'm not at 80% anymore. It was a cool, all that to say, it was a really cool process, and just the idea of how much actually went into. It wasn't like, hey, I think we should change our mission statement. You guys cool with that? Yeah. What do you got? We'll vote.
Yeah.
No, it was a very collaborative experience. We, like you said, we had about 15 people on that team, a certain percentage from our church staff, another percentage who are church members here at Whole Life, and just had a really great discussion over a lot of different areas, and looking forward to bringing this to the church board and then on to the church for ratification. So when we look at it, so
how far away are we? Do you think?
I think we're pretty close, actually. I think tonight we're wrapping up the majority of the work tonight, and I think then we'll be moving on to the strategic planning committee later on this month, and then in May, I think we'll be taking it to the board, and then I anticipate that we'll probably try to have a church business meeting after that.
So it still has a few hoops to
get
all the way there.
Got some things to go through, but
yeah.
I think we've done the bulk of the work, and I'm really excited. I think that Whole Life has been on a great trajectory over the years, and I think this is just a continuation of where we've been heading already. But putting it into today's language and into where we're at the moment, and then casting a vision for where we're headed in the next 5 to 10 years. Really excited about all of that. I'm really grateful to the countless hours that people have put into this. I think it'd be remiss not to thank Taylor Bothwell and Christina.
Yeah, absolutely.
For their just massive contributions in making this happen. Those are, by the way, the chairs of our strategic planning committee, and also have been very instrumental with the vision team that's been working on this. So, Christina Fuller, Taylor Bothwell, thank you so much. They've been just phenomenal.
What would we have done without Taylor's artwork? I mean,
that's a little inside joke, folks. So anyway, but yeah,
she's an artiste.
Yeah, if you ever see Taylor, ask her to draw something for you. She is gifted.
She's exceptional.
She really is.
In all ways, she's exceptional.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. So the question that we got in the chat a bunch, which was, I didn't list them all out because there were a lot of them, but kind of asking the same thing. Like, okay, I want to live with purpose. Do I make a statement? What if it feels like I'm a constantly changing person? Does that mean my statement needs to change all the time? And Ken gave us 4 things to think about. Why were you created? What are your top values? What are your talents? And what impact do you want to make on this earth to live with purpose? And so I don't know if I have any sage advice for someone who's sitting there thinking about, because it's really hard to think about. Sometimes it feels a little egotistical to think about the talent sometimes that God gave you. And a lot of times we like to downplay, no, just, that's nothing. That's nothing. It feels a little odd to admit that you might have some talent or some knowledge or just something that makes you super special. And I think the values to me were the easy ones. The talents are a little bit tough. Why were you created? I mean, people go a lifetime sometimes, I think, wondering like, why was I created? I think it might be this, but couldn't be, right? But so maybe you start with, to me, I was like, start with your top values. Like, what do you really value in this world? And what do you value in people that you really like or people that you would like to emulate? That one to me seems a little bit easier. And then what impact do you want to make? And then what are your talents? And then even if you don't think you have a talent, it could be one. I don't know. Just
everybody has a talent.
How do we get started? Like, so
almost everybody has talents.
Or talents. Yeah. Oh, no. I think everyone has at least one or more that are like, that you can find to use. So maybe start with the easy ones and then work your way into the others. Or, and this is where it gets really weird, ask somebody. Do you think I have talent? Well, that's
America's Got Talent, so you must too.
And if you've seen
You're breathing very well.
But I was thinking, like, who would you ask? And that's when I was thinking of my coach, and I'm just like, he was quick with like 5 things. Well, it could be this, could be this, could be this, could be this, could be this. And I mean, we know each other fairly well. I mean, we've been meeting for, I don't know, almost a year, I think, or maybe a little bit more.
Wow.
So if you think about that, it doesn't have to be someone like you've known your whole life. And maybe you might want to avoid those people because they're like, you don't have any talent. I've known you forever. Find someone new that's like because when you first meet someone, you're like, oh, Ken knows how to trim that beard. Maybe Ken in his next job, he's going to open up a barbershop and give the old beard trim and the high and tight and learn. No. But you can. But there's things that are out there. It's easy to see because you don't know the person. So I think that might be like, you don't have to ask someone necessarily that has a long track record.
So can you fail your own personal mission statement?
I have.
Is this what's been really slowing things down?
The perfection part.
Maybe, but really, it's a serious question because depending on what you come up with for your personal mission statement, particularly if it is aspirational, or particularly if maybe you don't have the level of privilege that somebody else has, and you establish something for yourself that is, that maybe isn't realistic, I guess. Can you establish something for yourself and then fail that thing, or is your personal mission statement something that is so inherent to who you are and how you are that you can't fail it?
No, you can fail it.
Great.
My mission statement, when the first time I made one was 2003, I think. One of my pastor friends we were all talking about this, and someone had gone to a conference or something, and they kind of challenged us to, come up with whatever your mission. And mine has been pretty close to the same over that whole time. Well, of course, in 4 years, of course, I have messed up and not made the mission statement, but it's always been, I think, like Ken said, the thing that you're striving for, the thing that helps you remember what the reason you're really getting out of bed every day, whether or not that's work or you're coming to church or it's your day off. Right?
Well, if a mission statement's a North Star, is it possible not to be headed in the right direction? Absolutely. You absolutely. I mean, that's if it were not possible to fill your mission statement, then there'd be no point in having a mission statement. You wouldn't need it because you're automatically going to be doing it. That's who you are. It's what you're going to do. The whole point of a mission statement is that this is the direction that I believe I am called to go in, and this is what I believe my purpose is, and this is why I believe I exist. And so, absolutely, you can fail it. I think that if you spend your time worrying about failing it, you've probably missed the point of what's going on. That the point is to have an idea of where you're headed, and just to be reminding yourself with regularity, this is why I exist. And so when I make decisions, I want to make decisions that are consistent and that are helping me move in the direction that I've decided my mission, my purpose for being is, and to take it in that direction. So
it's directional versus achievement oriented.
Exactly. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but that makes it difficult.
You need a mug. I should make you a mug or a t-shirt or something.
That's a great idea. I bet you can make a lot of money off of that kind of a inspirational phrase.
Well, hold that thought, because there might be something cool coming up at church retreat. You never know what you might find at church retreat.
Oh, okay.
Just saying, there's a special table waiting. But what about the times when it's not really your, I don't want to say fault, but like you go through certain areas and times of your life where, yes, this is still my mission statement, but also I'm in a job or I'm working for someone or some place or some company that really doesn't allow for, or I'll say allow, really makes it difficult to be shining example of your mission statement, because the tools that you would need are not available. Even if you've asked, you've done your best, you try with what's left, this little slice. And I think that that's the part where the mission statement for me was really important, even though I didn't realize it as much. I always knew that this place had to go. I had to get out of this job, because if that really was my mission statement and if that's really what I believed, then I had to get out, because there was no opportunity. The opportunities were so small, it was soul crushing for you to, or for me to be a part of, or the way I wanted to do it. And so in some ways, I think it's a good thing that if you can look at that failure and go, man, I'm in the wrong vocation, or I'm in the wrong relationship, or I'm in the wrong whatever, if this is precluding me from being who, if you look at those four things and like, this is who I am, this is who God created me to be, and this is who I strive to be. I mean, if all those are coming up as strikes, right? Like, it might be time to look at the bigger picture and go, what's Randy doing with his life anyway?
Well, and it's nice if you have the choice that you can actually make that
right.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also possible, I think, to have a mission statement that you live out regardless of your context.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's to the point that Melanie's making. I think that probably when Moses was herding sheep in Midian, he didn't particularly think that he was living out his mission particularly well. I suspect he wondered what purpose there was to what he was doing there. And so I think we have to sometimes be a little bit careful when it comes to a mission statement, not be prescriptive and be like, well, because this is my mission statement, then when God places me in this place, I need to get out of here because this isn't where I'm supposed to be. Sometimes God puts us into wildernesses. He puts us into places that don't seem particularly conducive to what we think our mission is, what we think we were created to do. And there are lessons in that will be important for the bigger picture. So when it came to Moses, learning how to herd sheep was probably a pretty good opportunity for him to learn patience and learn attributes of leadership with animals before he had to do it with people. And so I think sometimes we get a little hasty to move out of areas of our life that we think are not particularly productive, and yet in those areas God is wanting to develop and grow certain aspects of our character and who we are. So yeah, I think that's also another thing that we ought to kind of think about. Yeah. And sometimes we genuinely are in a place that isn't where God wants us, and that isn't helpful to our mission, and that's when you definitely evaluate it. But I think that also to what Melanie was saying, sometimes it's just prayerfully saying, okay, God, I know you've given me this purpose. How can I still live this purpose out in the place that you've put me in this moment?
10 years seemed like a long time to learn whatever it was I was supposed to learn. That's all I'm saying.
Moses did 40, so you got off light, buddy.
Yeah, I guess. But it was evident that getting on with life was necessary. But yeah, no, you got to learn the lesson that it didn't stop.
But also, I mean, to your point, Randy, I think when you have choices to make, having that orientation, that direction helps you make those choices that need to be made.
But it feels like you don't have any. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't looking for that entire time. Like, I went back and this was 2 stints at the same place, and it was like every door just closed. Inside contacts, guaranteed to show up tomorrow. We're hiring you, blah, 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 blah. And then it was just like the door kept getting slammed directly in the face, like broken nose door slam. And it was like, time after time after time after time. It's like, okay, there's got to be a lesson here that I'm, not learning, or what. I don't get it. I don't know what there is left. And finally, towards the end, I was like, look, I give up. I'm just whatever. And then one incident, and then there we go. That was that.
All roads led you to here.
I guess that's and probably if it hadn't been there, probably wouldn't be here. You're probably correct. So thank you, Jesus, for the 10 years. There you go. All right, since Dr. Lucas...
I feel like this was a big moment that we were just a part of.
I think you might have been. Dr. Lucas is not here. He's allegedly still stuck in traffic, although he's probably going to be here about...
I think he's on a beach in South Florida. That's what I think is going on.
All right, text him and please send me a shot of your toes right now. Right now, I need to see toes. And then we'll know for sure. All right, we're going to get to the questions because that's usually his job, but... Oh, we have a lovely person. She sounds wonderful just from her name. I don't know if we can place her. Her name was Kyla. And she said, this is a super hard question to answer when you are 21. But I think right now my mission statement...
I think Kyla's trying to point out she just turned 21 and she's very excited about
Congratulations, Kyla.
No excitement there. Oh, there is a smiley face though. So yeah, you're probably right. But right now my mission statement is to leave the world better than I found it through whatever talents, resources, and environments God gives me. Come on, man. That's pretty good.
There you go. That's pretty good.
Where else can you go if you're not sure at this point, at that time? 21? Man. Yeah, that's really good. ALBJ said, personally, I feel good embracing or piggybacking the mission statement of my office where I work, walking together in faith, hope, and love. And if you
I think I know where they work.
Yeah, he copped to it later in the conversation when someone asked, "That's really good. Where do you work?" And he said, "I work at the Florida Conference of Seventh-day Adventists."
By the way, I get extra points for knowing that, right?
I was going to say, if one
employee,
of you didn't raise your hand and be like, "I know where you work," so I was going to be surprised. But Randy said, "My North Star from Scripture is love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. I think this is the central calling of Jesus." I'm like, I couldn't agree more. I think that's really good. And they followed up with, how does one live with purpose? This is going back to what Melanie was talking about, having these opportunities. When one's basic survival is at times in question, for many who are deeply under threat, this is a very different question for those who are not. So yeah, I mean, there's all the things that you have to go through. That's a tough, it is. Like I said, 10 years, I could not figure this out for anything. And not saying at that point I didn't have, I have a ton of opportunities, but not one of them. I was just like, God, I was like, I think God hates me. And my wife's like, nah, I don't think that's true. And I'm like, I'm not sure. That's not what it feels like right now. And so for all of that, just, like you said, when things seem like everything is against you, that's...
Yeah, I wonder about, because I love that mission statement, love God and love people, basically, is what it boils down to.
All your heart, soul, and mind, love your neighbor as yourself.
And it seems like that's something you could live out in any context, regardless of level of privilege or opportunity. It seems like that could be lived out.
I feel like when I have been in crisis and when things have been going horribly wrong in my life, that's when I've needed to lean into my mission statement the most. It's when I've needed that to kind of hang on to say, hey,
makes sense.
This is the direction, even though things aren't going the way I want them to right now, and even though this is when I need to lean into, but this is who I am, and this is what my purpose is. And even though I am in crisis, I need to hang on to this.
Yeah.
And in a situation where you're under threat, it might be a lot harder to love other people, especially people who you feel like are placing you in that situation.
In the situation, yeah.
Yeah.
Or perpetuating it. Doug said, my personal mission statement is to build genuine relationships with all I meet. I have found in my own life that my purpose constantly changes through life's many chapters. I was like, okay, well, but even if your purpose changes, that's still a pretty good mission statement. Like, I think you can have a mission statement and then as your purpose, maybe through different seasons, even if your purpose changes, like, oh man, before I was a financial advisor, my purpose was to help people, save and, not be a burden on society in their later years or plan for estate planning, whatever it was. And now I'm a barista, but your purpose may have changed. I just want to make a great cup of coffee.
Is it mission or is it vision that changes?
Vision changes, mission stays the same. And going and using that financial services versus barista, what doesn't change is your customer service.
Right.
That you are a person who is intent on providing service to someone else. And so that would be the part that I would look for. I think sometimes people get mission confused with what they do for a living or what the circumstance that they're in. But mission is a bigger principle. It really answers the question, what matters to me and what purpose do I feel like I have? And it doesn't matter whether you're working in construction or working in communications, your mission can stay the same across them. And so that's one of the things I just encourage is that your mission is going to stay. You might update the wording of it.
Yeah.
You might to kind of give more meaning to what you feel. But generally, that the overall idea of who you are is going to stay the same.
Stay the same. Yeah.
More on vision in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay, there you go. So Dale said, my personal question is it a true mission statement if it's not given by God? Isn't it then just our own endeavor?
Yeah. And you ask God to give you guidance on what your mission is and what your purpose is. And God, I believe, does reveal those things to you when you ask. And part of that is, looking through some of the biblical examples, looking at some of those things and giving that thought. But generally, God doesn't chisel out on a tablet of stone, this is Ken's purpose. Generally, Ken has to go to God, ask for guidance and leading, and then look for that purpose and decide what I think God is telling me.
And maybe find that trusted partner that God could use as well to kind of put those ideas in there. Rod said, my mission statement is to have Christ's character reproduced in my own life. My mission has never changed, but through circumstances, my vision and goals have occasionally changed. I think that's what we were just talking about. Papa Yankee said, what would you say is God's purpose compared to what it was when he was on earth? What would you say is God's purpose compared to what it was when he was here on earth? Okay, just want to make sure I read that correctly.
I don't think it has changed. I think that when Jesus said he's come to that we may have life and to have it to the full, I think that is still God's mission for us.
You could argue that was the mission in the very, very beginning of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I see as very unchanging about that truly God's mission is to give life and that life would be lived to the full.
Man. Excellent. All right. That's questions. That's everything.
Wow.
That brings us to church retreat this week.
Yeah.
There were people that were reading the signs on the doors like, oh no, there's going to be no church next week here. They're like, no, it's only going to be online, like we mentioned before. So whole life
there's
church
going
life.
to be church.
There will be
always
church.
Going to be
it's
church.
just going
Not
to
at this
be
location.
in a different location.
Well, last time when we used different wording on the flyers last year, and people were like, it wasn't really clear that you weren't going to be here. And I'm like, I thought the building being vacant was the clue on that one. So this time we used something a little bit different, and someone came up to me and said, the church is going to be closed. I'm like, there won't be anybody here. And they're like, but I saw the bottom line. Like, we're going to tune in. We can't go, but we're going to tune in. I'm like,
you've got people
go.
reading the fine print, Randy. Good job.
That's what I said. I'm like, I think, Lucas, even though you're probably in South Beach somewhere right now, leaving us here by ourselves, did a great job putting it all together. But the other part is that will be just the first time stream. So just make sure you catch up with that. And
love, acceptance, grace, forgiveness.
Participation.
Yes.
Certainly. Yeah. Don't forget that one. The Bible.
Worship.
Yeah. Did that all? I think that's all of them.
No.
I used to be able to do it pretty quickly, but now I always forget.
The Bible.
Yeah.
Randy.
I said the Bible.
I said the Bible.
Oh, you said the Bible?
I said the Bible.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I said the Bible.
Okay.
And Friday night, if you are not attending church retreat, if you scour probably about 10, 11 o'clock somewhere in there, check your podcast feed, because the Friday night message by our special guest speaker, Dr. Heather Thompson Day, that always comes out as a Friday night goodie just because I love y'all and want you to have a little piece of it.
So you're recording it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did last year. We've been doing that for a couple of years.
Okay.
Since we had the little microphones we can just clip on the lapel, and that way you get so you'll be looking for in both feeds, This Is Whole Life and Speaking of Grace, no matter which. You'll have the Friday night, you'll have the podcast but that you got to wait till Wednesday. I'm not giving you that one early. You got to wait till Wednesday.
Oh, really? So even though we're recording it Sabbath morning,
No. We stay on schedule with that one. You want the real
That is
meat
kind
and
of the fun
potatoes.
thing about retreat is that you do the podcast live with a studio audience.
That's right. So this week we will, or this coming retreat, this coming week, it'll be at the King Chapel. And so Lucas will be on the rover mic, and we'll try to keep the conversation to a point where we can have her answer questions and your questions, which is great. And then you'll also have the message from Saturday morning. So you'll have 3 different episodes to be checking out next week. So look at that. Lots of bonus. Anything else? And then when we come back, it's Vision.
Vision.
Vision. So mission and vision, that'll be the second part. And then Are we into? We're into.
Then we're into Easter.
Easter.
Wow! Do you notice how I just skipped right over Easter?
Yes, I realize you're
Did you
trying to
see
block
that?
it out.
I am.
That's because when Church Retreat Crunch ends, Easter Crunch begins.
Well, it's kind of already begun, but
Yeah, it has begun. It began right after Christmas was over.
It even began before Christmas was over.
When you feel like you're ahead on one, and then it's just like the other one's like, don't forget about me.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So you have Vision after this week, and then you have Easter, and then we jump into a series on the Book of Ruth.
That's right, the Ruth. Oh man, that's gonna be fun. Because we got a little taste of Ruth that was Esther.
That was Esther.
That was Esther. Man.
And we're also going to have some special guests up here for the Ruth series. So
Special guests.
Get to hear from some special guest people.
Every time you say special guest, I'm expecting you to follow with another hint, and then
We're not
it's always
talking.
a special.
I'll be doing the preaching,
Yes,
but
Ken will preach.
But there will be some special appearances,
Some dramatic appearances. We'll put it that way.
Oh, is Nebby hanging out with us again? The Nebs?
Well, go read the Book of Ruth, and if you can find Nebuchadnezzar in there, then we'll bring him. But
oh man, I miss the Nebs, and all of them. I miss all the kings, kind of. If you want to be truthful, I mean, that was fun.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Maybe more this year. I mean, is this special guest is kind of like that? No,
We shall see.
I guess you have to show up, Randy.
See, that's what you got to do. I don't give you Saturday morning. They took little drummer boy away from me, so you get no Saturday morning until Wednesday. Now you're going to have to wait and see who's the special guest. So I guess that's the way it is. Hope to see all of you at Church Retreat. Again, registration is closed, but that doesn't mean you couldn't just get in the car and drive for the day. Pack a lunch and a supper or
Talking
whatever.
to you, Carolina Dave.
That's right. Don't make me send the plane. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening as always. Have a great week and hope to see you at Church Retreat.